Okay, I am one of those teachers who is passionate about teaching. Now, you've heard many teachers tell you that they wanted to be a teacher since the time they were 3 years old. Not me. My high school teachers told me, "Oh, Georgia, you should be a teacher." I said, "That is the last thing I will ever do." I decided to get married and go into the world of business and be a secretary. And I did. And then after I had my child some years later, I decided to become a teacher. The reason for that was because in every job I'd had, people kept putting me in charge of showing people how to do things. So at this point I thought, okay, maybe I have some direction in that way. So through Pima College and the University of Arizona, I became a teacher. Late in life, comparatively. I was 29 when I began. Now, I'm not going to tell you one story. I'm going to tell you three, hopefully, fitting within the time frame, that express my feelings about the joy of being a teacher. The first is telling you about when I taught at Holiday Intermediate Magnet School, where Lori was one of my students, and we invented the Dragon Bank. Now, most of the things that I used came out of necessity. The necessity was that very few of my students were turning in their work. And I am a believer in children doing work and turning it in and having it graded. Okay, well, I am never one to just give up when the kids say that's not going to happen. So, thanks to Professor Donald Wells of the School of Economics at the University of Arizona, I had attended a workshop in the summertime for teachers, and I had learned a lot about how economics worked. And I brought that back to my classroom, gathered the kids around in a class meeting, set up what the problem was, and then we discussed how can we organize a system that will work. Well, this required some learning, so we looked at different kinds of economic systems. Capitalism, socialism, communism, figured out what we wanted and did a vote. Good little capitalist, all of them. But with a touch of socialism in there, which never hurts. And so the Dragon Bank was created. I like dragons. And the Dragon Bank worked on this basis. If you come to school, you get paid. Now, all payment was in dragon dollars, created in the classroom. Okay, if you came to school, you got paid so many dragon dollars a day. Sounds good, right? You don't come to school, no dragon dollars. You're only paid for what you're doing. Now, we needed to get them there, but once we got them there, we needed to do something, to help them earn more. So to earn cash, what we did is we said, okay, for every paper that is handed in on time with a grade of 70% or higher, you will earn money. It was $1 for an A, 50 cents for a B, 25 cents for a C. If the work was below a 70, they got nothing. We didn't take anything away. And they could do the assignment over to earn at least a C, but no better than a C. Even if it was perfect, they couldn't get better than a C because it was late. And so we were teaching certain things by doing that. Now so far, and we paid students for doing work in the classroom. We elected class officers each month. Each officer received a level of pay commensurate with their duties. And the officers were all elected by the students. Okay, and there were certain rules for you to attach to that. So far you're hearing all income. And they learned to establish a bank account and a checkbook and how to maintain their money. Because you see, there was also an outgo. They had to rent their desks for so many dollars per day. Less than they earned for getting there, but close. And if they were absent, unless their desk had been emptied out and assigned to somebody else, they had to pay for the desk. Okay, now what does that encourage? Come to school. They had to keep their desk clean. If it was clean, they got money for doing that. For doing all kinds of things, they got money. They also had to buy books. They also had to buy pencils. They had to buy paper. They had to buy everything, including extra worksheets. And the creme de la creme was they got one free bathroom trip a day, and for any additional jaunts to the restroom, it cost them $5. Boy, did that cut down on unnecessary trips to the restroom. I didn't turn a kid down. I'd say, Lori, sure you can go to the bathroom. Just give me your $5. And she'd stand there. No, she really didn't, you know. But she'd stand there and she'd say, okay, I don't really need to go. Okay. Now that's an example of interdisciplinary happy teaching. My kids did their work, they turned it in, their grades went up, and they learned a whole lot. And parents acquired from that the ability to run a checkbook, which was kind of fun. Okay, second story, little vignette. I also taught adults, and one of the classes that I taught was for Chapman College, where I taught the Arizona Constitution. Now, those of you who are teachers know that you don't get to be a teacher in Arizona without passing the Arizona Constitution test. Well, I had no trouble with that at all. I love politics and history and government. Okay, when I got my class at Chapman, it was for 8 hours on a Saturday, followed by 4 hours on a Wednesday night. That was it, the total class. And it was full of people who didn't want to be there. Most of them were for out of state, and they didn't want anything to do with Arizona Constitution. They didn't know why they had to study it or what the heck it had to do with education. Bad mood coming in the room. Well, I think this happens to be important. And so I created a pretest based on my knowledge of Arizona politics, and I've used to play in politics, so I have a pretty good set of knowledge out there. A little pretest there. See, what do you know? Well, of course, nobody knew practically anything along the way. So then we jump into the teaching. And in the process of the teaching, people got excited. They started to see how it connected. Why does this matter? How do we fund education in Arizona? Where does this budget come from? What are those pieces, and what's the effect on your kids? Well, after 3 hours on a Saturday morning, I would find myself saying, you still got it, girl. They were ready, they were excited, and they learned. Now, my third little bit is about going to the county fair. And we don't just go to the county fair to ride the rides and play on the midway. No. They're not allowed to do that. First, we learn how the county fair is developed. 1,000 years of history there, folks, and the kids understood what that had to do with so many things in their lives and how that is still true today. But they couldn't just go to the fair on the field trip. No. We put together a workbook for them. Little pads cut out of cardboard, you know, with papers dittoed and Xeroxed and so forth and put on there. And they had duties they had to do. They had to talk to people. They had to go to the FH section, FHA. They had to go to the Future Farmers. They had to go out and see the animals. They had to go through Old Pueblo Hall. Most of the kids had never done this in their lives. They had to acquire information. They had to draw diagrams. They had to interview people, pull things together, write it all down, and when the trip was over, they had to turn it in to be graded. I will tell you, it was gently graded. However, I told the kids, and this was a hallmark with me, I said, school is not about fun. We are not here to have fun. Fun is the F word. What we are here for is an enjoyable, educational experience. or E cubed if you prefer. Well, when they came back from the county fair, there would be written all over the fronts of the workbooks that they had done, it would say, "We had fun. I have never worked so hard ever on a field trip ever in my life, and I had a good time, and you couldn't stop me." And I thought, there it is. We did it. They integrated all of this. They saw parts of the fair they had never seen before, and they were encouraged to create things, take them out, and put it in. Now, enter it in the fair themselves. And you know what? All of that together is why teaching is the most joyful experience that there is. Outside of medicine, as far as I'm concerned, it's the most important job we have in our country. As Krista McAuliffe said, I touch the future. I teach. And that's the thing to remember. Be kind to your teachers.